So, we talked a little bit last time about the importance of LinkedIn as you are maybe starting a job search or in the middle of a job search. Cover a few of the points you made last time,
Sure.
just so we can bring people up to date. And then what are some of the newer, I guess, or other important assets that you have on LinkedIn that you need to be looking at?
I think it's kind of interesting about LinkedIn is it's one of these things that, as I think I probably pointed out last time, is that it's one of these, many people have set up for themselves a LinkedIn profile, but they don't necessarily know why they did it, and they don't know how to leverage it and use it to be an additional way to market themselves in a job search or however else they want to use it. But generally, that's what it's used for. And there's just a number of things that you can do to make it a more effective tool. And there are a number of inherent settings within LinkedIn that are set to default settings that you might not even be aware that you can change those or manipulate those to make it more effective. And we kind of went over those a couple of those things last time as well. So the first thing we talked about was kind of the obvious thing, but some folks have their LinkedIn profile and they don't upload a photo. I was just suggesting go ahead and put a photo on there and have it be a photo just of you, not of you and your wife or you and your friend. It's a professional situation, so you want to get just a decent shot of yourself, headshot. So do that if you don't have one already. Your headline, the professional headline, was another thing I pointed out last time we chatted. That defaults to your latest job title or your most recent or your current job title on the actual LinkedIn profile. So if you want to sort of present yourself as something else, or if you want to, especially if you're looking to do a career change, you definitely want to change that heading and make it something catchy and punchy. And not have it just be simply the title of your last job, and most people think, well, that's the way LinkedIn is set up, so it has to be that way. But actually, you can change that. There's an option in your settings to change that. And it's not that difficult to find that.
Yeah. So what are some, when you start looking at, it's the most recent job. Is there other? What else do we go? Let's get through what we covered last time because I want to get into the new stuff too.
Sure. So I'm sorry. What are you asking me?
Well, when we get into you start looking at your job status or your old job. Is that really what people are looking at? Is there? I don't use LinkedIn. I'll be honest. This is all really new to me too. I'm sure a lot of other people maybe also, unless you're a recruiter, in which case you use it like 400 times a day.
Right.
But there's statuses in there. There's there's email functions. It's a pretty robust system, and so when you start talking about fixing some of the settings, these are like pretty important things that allow you to customize LinkedIn in a way that maybe 3 years ago you weren't able to.
Absolutely. And then yeah, that's a good point. And then another thing that I think is very important to talk about is the activity broadcast. That's another setting that you might not even be aware. So if you are the kind that barely ever goes into LinkedIn, like 95% of people who use it, so you hardly ever make changes to it, hardly ever update it, then all of a sudden you're looking for a job, okay? Then you make the changes, and unless you change the default setting in your LinkedIn settings, it's going to, every time you make a change, it's going to send out an email to every single one of your contacts. And so that's going to tip people off that you're looking for a job. And if you want it to be a stealth job search, you definitely want to turn off those activity broadcasts and not send email messages. And it's really easy to find them in the settings if you go in there.
Sure.
So that's something that very few people actually know about, and it's an important thing that you need to do. If you want to promote what you're up to, though, that's the thing that you just mentioned. Updating your status every once in a while in LinkedIn. This is kind of the antithesis of that. But if you want to get your name out there, ping your connections on a regular basis, increase your network's awareness of you, begin building your personal reputation, et cetera. This is you want to update your status every once in a while. And an example of that would be like if you're attending some industry-related event. Let's say you're an expert on something and you're speaking somewhere. You want to sort of promote that. You update your status with that and put a little blurb in there about it.
More like Facebook status.
Exactly.
Where we want everybody to see this.
Exactly. So that's the way you can sort of use LinkedIn like Facebook, even though it's a more formal venue than Facebook is. You can use it like Facebook when you choose to update your status, and obviously that's kind of the opposite of sort of blocking your broadcast things. But it just depends on your situation. But what's important to know is that these are options that you have. People tend to think that like LinkedIn is really static and it doesn't let you change. And that is true on some things, like the way they make you list your jobs and that kind of thing. But there are a lot of things that you can change to help your situation and make it a more powerful tool.
So as you go through some of these items, this is really to help you broadcast yourself on LinkedIn in a way that is most professional to help you get a job is really what we're discussing.
Exactly. Right. And it's just the things that you can do to make it more impactful, the things that you can do to not make it a minus or a hindrance for you. Because, the last thing in the world, and this has happened untold numbers of times, is that somebody wants to be secretive about they're still working at a place. They don't want people to be tipped off. I mean, this has tipped off countless numbers of employers that you're looking, because why else would you be making all these changes to your profile? They assume it, even if it's not even true.
And are they watching for this? I mean, I guess if you don't use LinkedIn a lot,
right,
then you're thinking, oh, my employer probably doesn't look at that stuff.
Right.
I mean, is there?
It depends on. That's a kind of a good point too, because it really kind of depends on who's in your network. So. But most people, like if they work at a large place, they're friendly enough with a number of people at that place of employment that they're going to have a lot of those people as LinkedIn contacts.
Sure.
So enough people from those places, maybe not like your boss,
right,
but enough people will, and then the word is going to get around. Hey, because people love
John
to gossip.
His LinkedIn.
Exactly. People love nothing more than to gossip at the workplace. So it's going to get out there, and it's not exactly the best way to do a search if you're not wanting to let people know about it.
Sure. You also mentioned like kind of broadcasting yourself if you're doing like events or whatnot. And
right.
And I know one of the ways that you had brought this to my attention is stop hiding. What do you mean by that?
Because a lot of folks will use like they'll either not have their name and it'll say, the way they show their profile to the world is it'll say anonymous LinkedIn user, or it'll say Ben B instead of Ben Brashen. Like, you don't want people to know your last name. I mean, this is not an online AA meeting, for God's sake. It's this is you're supposed to be putting yourself out there. I mean, that's the reason it exists to begin with. So the way I look at it is, well, like if you're freaked out about, I don't know, being spammed or whatever, and then just don't use the tool. But if you're going to use the tool, use it for the way it was intended to be, which is to just be another way to market yourself. But do that. I mean, actually use it to market yourself. So use your full name. Again, use your picture. It's just it doesn't make too much sense to do it any other way. The other thing you can do too is I don't know if you remember or seeing the default public profile URLs for your LinkedIn. It's really long, and there's a bunch of letters and numbers and things, and it's this really impersonal, long, non-catchy, URL.
Yeah, YJQP.
Exactly, and and it goes on forever. And a lot of folks have that pasted into their into the resume. I definitely suggest putting your LinkedIn connection on your resume, the link on your resume, but you can actually customize that profile with your name and maybe your name and a number after it or something.
And it's really
like
easy
that.
to do. I mean, there's like
like you can do in any email with any email address. It's the same kind of concept. So you want to just be able to customize that as much as possible. Again, that's kind of a branding thing. Because you're trying to brand yourself, you're trying to market yourself. So it's better because it's real clunky looking to have the long one. It's also not as professional, and it's just not as markety.
Kevin, we have about a minute left before we have to go to break. You bring up some of these as when you talk about LinkedIn and putting the LinkedIn link on your resume. That's a big piece because people are probably going to try to find you on LinkedIn anyways.
Right.
Is some of that? I mean, so I guess the thought here is try to not only improve what it looks like, but also give people easy access.
Right, exactly. And plus, there's no real reason not to link someone off of your document into your LinkedIn profile, especially since the majority of resumes are sent electronically now. So actually, the person can literally click on that, right-click on that link and get hyperlinked right to your LinkedIn. LinkedIn again, that's another topic. But LinkedIn itself shouldn't be just your entire resume uploaded. It should be very much of a summation and much punchier, a lot more of just kind of the summary statements. The actual summary statement on your LinkedIn should be more personal than it is on the resume. You should speak from the first person. You might even tell something more personal about yourself than you would in your resume without getting too personal, so that you're going to, open yourself up to hidden forms of discrimination. But it's just, it should be kind of handled in a different way. So.
Yeah. Kevin, any other kind of last tips? I know that there's some other ways that you can kind of connect with people.
Real quick, SlideShare or Box Files. These are a couple of applications that are within LinkedIn that people might not know about. These allow you to add different media to your profile. So like a video, let's say you did an appearance somewhere, whatever. Let's say you were on Brashenomics and you wanted to put a video of Brashenomics in your LinkedIn. This allows you to do that. If you did a presentation that you're particularly proud of, a business proposal for some company that was really sharp and you wanted to show that, you can actually show the entire thing and add it and make sort of a portfolio for yourself within LinkedIn, which most people aren't even aware you can do. And real quick, since I haven't written a book about LinkedIn, I'll plug somebody else's book. There's a guy named Jason Alba, A-L-B-A.
Jessica Alba's brother.
And of course, it's called I'm on LinkedIn, Now What? And there's actually videos you can find on YouTube with this guy too, and he's got a blog. So he has a lot of great suggestions for LinkedIn on how you can really maximize it too.